comes to their execution and draft.
Yep, and it's one of those things where we'll have to see whether or not Alpha will still decide to give away the Senna Tom Kench combo in particular, as you know, J-Team is now on red side and can definitely secure those 2 picks in one rotation.
All right, first ban though, it is going to be, of course, the Kalissa. It seems Alpha just do not wish to play against this champion, nor have it on their squad. And then once again, LeBlanc being banned out against Assassin, pretty much standard.
Aphelios, though, we'll see whether or not Alpha and J-Team will decide to leave that open, because if they leave Aphelios open, Alpha can take Aphelios. J-Team can at least secure perhaps maybe the Misfortune Kench again, considering Kench has been that anti-aggressive champion whenever, especially you're up against Alpha. Another thing is also Bard. Again, for J-Team, this is such a huge statement considering they have a lot of changes to their roster for the very first time in playoffs, as well as a do-or-die situation for the series, and they've won that first game, so it's really refreshing to see them being very successful in the first game.
Yeah, Zoe ban away, again, more or less targeted toward Kjorb, which, again, I like. And on top of that, the Aphelios ban going to roll through as well as the Lee Sin for Alpha. What do they wish to prioritize here right away? I don't like this Nautilus lock-in immediately. I think there is other priority champions here that you could get for your squad. You could go ahead and lock down, say, that Varus if you wanted again. Maybe you go for the Misfortune if you want to go for the team fight. I think putting this much focus, especially on Kino, which unfortunately for Alpha has been, when you look statistically wise, isn't the best performing support in the league, and that opens up picks like this set to go over to JT.
The thing is, I feel like for Alpha, they want to buy some time in the draft. They want to not reveal too much, considering that we'll see with JT if they do lock their mid lane in, because perhaps this could be the game Alpha can take in the Kassadin, because J-Team also has picked their mid laner in the first rotation. So with that said, Elise is actually open, Olaf is open as well, so we'll see, because Alpha likes to pick their jungle at the very last minute.
Yeah, I feel like you got to pick your jungle here on this rotation, or else Katjung is going to lose out on more picks, especially the fact that Elise was taken away immediately here by J-Team. Now, I don't know necessarily if they're going to go with the Olaf. There's still something like the Jarvan. I want to see what they want to decide when it comes to their bot lane, if they're going to go with the Misfortune or the Varus. Because, again, Senna and the Aphelios were banned out. It looks like they'd rather go with, again, this heavy pick style bot lane, which is going to be this Chain of Corruption into a depth charge combo for the side of Alpha. It's worked before, but let's get Katjug onto something he likes playing. If you're not going to have on the Lee Sin or the Elise, maybe go something like an Rek'Sai that he's been able to play a couple times during spring rather well, and it looks like that's going to be the play here for Alpha.
Yeah, that's true. We've seen a lot of respect from teams when they go against Alpha. They usually ban those 3 champions, LeBlanc, Lee Sin, and now Rek'Sai is open. And for Katjug, he'll definitely be happy getting this one in the bag. And meanwhile, Kai'Sa, again, this pick has not been performing in the PCS, still sitting at a 0% win rate. Will Lil V make this work?
And it's also not sitting at a good win rate when you take a look at some of the other leagues, especially with near our region. Over in the LPL, it saw some play yesterday. It wasn't a whole that impactful when it came to the lane. Now, if you are able to get this Kai'Sa, though, to that, you know, magical 4-item power spike, you know, the 3 to 4 item power spike, it's usually a good time. But especially when you're now going up against a Varus, which it looks like Alpha are aiming to go this more, you know, aggressive style build with lethality on Atlan. The lane phase for the Kai'Sa, it's a rather rough one, especially the fact that you don't necessarily have a really good keystone to bring into the lane. A lot of people end up just going the Hail of Blades to try and get the passive off a little faster. Now, though, we take a look toward our second round of picks. It's going to be the Kassadin getting locked out. It's going to be the Echo as well, so Assassin's Pool is being heavily targeted, especially with the fact that they also banned out the Azir and also this flex of the Pantheon.
Oh, lots of respect again coming from Alpha. Yeah, against J-Team. So what does J-Team decide to pick? Do they pick up the Syndra for this particular matchup, considering there's no Kassadin anymore to sort of terrorize that late game coming from Assassin? But no, that seems to be the choice, as Akali will be on the side of Cure this time if they do lock this in.
So interesting. It seems red side has always been the coin flip. Is this Akali going to be able to do anything? But it's J-Team's turn pretty much. We saw Assassin able to get 2 kills early on in the first match, but Other than that, it's been rather quiet, and we've seen it a couple times in playoffs. Talon showed it with Candy. It wasn't all that impactful for Kyorb. This is a rather risky one to also show, but let's see, what does Alpha want to show? They're going to go ahead and lock in the Aatrox. That has been Rock's main go-to pick over the course of the spring split. I believe it's his most played. I think he's got 11 games on it now so far. And then they're opting to go into possibly an Orianna pickup. Assassin has been 50-50 when it comes to the champion. Either he's a god or I'd rather him not be in my solo queue game ever. Corki, though, been a little bit more of a stable pick, does something very similar with a lot of AoE damage and a decent amount of poke in the rockets.
Okay, so not the Orianna this time. At least you do have Assassin here this time around on the Corki. Again, just as you mentioned, Corki has been a little bit 50-50, and it's mainly because you're not able to take advantage of that package timer, so coming into the fights, especially J-Team can anticipate that again. For Alpha, this is a very familiar composition. It's definitely something they fall back into when they want to engage into these 5v5s and fight fire with fire. J-Team, though, has a different plan in mind, and with this said, it seems to me they're not going to answer with a 5v5, but instead going to get that early game lead, and I'm excited to see this executed.
Yeah, we got ourselves a set support once again here in the PCS, and set support has been, of course, popping up from region to region. It's a little bit more popular over in the east side with, you know, LCK, LPL, PCS. Again, we get to see Driver, though, onto his Gangplank, and his Gangplank wasn't all that bad. We didn't get to see a whole lot of action from it. I'm a little bit worried, I think, this time around when you look at the possible targets on the map, the Kai'Sa set aren't going to be the ones usually pushing out the lane back toward the Varus. I feel like Atlan's going to be trying to get a lot of poke down to really force this Kai'Sa to go back. So that really only leaves for Alpha, if they really want to try and dive onto Driver. So I think it's going to be up to Hana to be able to keep him safe on the top side of the map, or else his Aatrox could get out of control.
Yeah, we did mention, when you lock in that Gangplank, expect a few dives here and there, especially at the early game, especially pre-level 6, as that is definitely one of your weakest moments as the Gangplank, and we'll have to see if Driver can make this work. He didn't manage to make this work earlier, but now that's a Kedjug on the Rex side, so a lot of CC on the side of combination of Rock on this Aatrox as well.
And you gotta also consider for Alpha, this could possibly be your final game when it comes to the spring split. These lower tier bracket matchups are only best of 3s. J-Team, they only need one if they want to advance on to the next round. Alpha, they need to get the victory here if they want to go ahead and force that game 3.
Absolutely scary for Alpha in particular, and looking at their composition, it seems to me they've opted for a more comfort style rather than something that hasn't been played yet for themselves in the entirety of PCS. We'll see how this rolls.
On to the Rift here for Alpha. It could possibly be their final game of the split if they're not able to take home the victory. Interesting, we've Hail of Blades Corki not going for the... Sometimes we see Press, sometimes we see Conqueror, as weird as that may sound. Hail of Blades, this is really trying to make something happen in lane against this Kali, which is obviously possible. It's a melee versus range matchup, so Kyorb is not going to have the funnest time in lane. I like Kedjug, though, going Hail of Blades. This means this Rek'Sai has to be very aggressive early because she is an absolute monster with this Keystone in the first 6 levels.
Absolutely, and for sure, for J-Team, they'd like to replicate what they've done earlier. Spend a lot of wards, defensive wards, just to try and scare away Kedjug and not allow his usual playstyle to work. And meanwhile, though, for Alpha, I feel like they might want to get a lot of visits towards bot side after level 6. Most likely it will be top side pre-level 6, and see if they can shut down Lil V early, and at least they only have Kyorb to deal with.
I have one little key part of concern here for J-Team in particular is when Assassin becomes a bit of a monster, especially in the later part of the game once he's sitting on 3 to 4 items, there isn't an exhaust being ran on the side of J-Team. There isn't going to be something that's able to slow down this Varus or this Corki. Now again, Atlan may not be much of a concern if he's going to run into a Vitality, but Assassin, he's going to be this Corki. He's going to love... If it's Assassin, he's going to Valkyrie in probably, and then try and get a Phosphorus Bomb on top of a Rocket to try and get a bunch of just key amount of damage. But without an exhaust, it leaves him a little bit unchecked. So it's going to be up to Kyorb or Driver to get a really good barrel combo in the later part of these team fights where J-Team should be able to take advantage.
Yeah, And it will definitely also be up to Nesty and Hana as well to get that CC down and try to burst Assassin to deny any sort of hope coming from this Corki. Actually, when it comes to the fights around Dragon or perhaps Rift Herald, there's a ton of poke to be done, especially on Alpha side. But meanwhile, Catjug might take a sneaky path away from Vision.
Yeah.
We'll see whether or not this is going to be started by Rock. He reached his level 3 just now. With that said, Driver, he still does have Flash. There's a barrel being laid out at least to activate the slow. It's not going to work. He's going towards enemy lines. But at this point, even using the Flash as well, you're right, they're wasting a lot of time. Catjug already used his tunnel. Therefore, he's given up. He's going towards the second tier tower right now. And with that said, J-Team is going to be happy about that, I suppose.
Yeah, I like what Driver was thinking about doing. Unfortunately, it looks like I don't even think he should have used his flash there. Maybe he should have held on to that flash, because now he's going to be a prime target for Catjug. We mentioned this gangplank, especially with up against this Aatrox, where Hana has not shown himself on the top side of the map. It means Catjug is likely just going to apply so much pressure, even looking for this dive in mid lane.
Oh, Cure, there's the backup from Hana, but is it going to help? Looks like that's going to be a no, as the Valkyrie away from danger is going to work as Assassin and Catjug. This is the deadly duo we were talking about from the LDL.
And I don't really understand there, because Kiorb had a vision right on where Catjug was. He decided not to just, flash away from the tower or just, shuriken away. No, he was trying to get a trade kill, and you also saw Hana try and also answer. So that was a set play from J-Team saying, hey, we can turn this one around and try and get a kill, but it's just easier execution there on the side of Alpha. So Catjug getting 2 kills early, or at least getting 2 kills in theory, also helping out Rock on the top side of the map. This is a great start for Alpha.
Absolutely, and I feel like that is a perfect setup from Assassin, chunking out Kiorb, denying that level 4, denying a lot of waves. So at this point, Kiorb missed a lot of that first wave, actually, near the tower, and with that, it is definitely a challenge made by J-Team.
Yeah, unfortunately that Cocoon, a little bit off target there. If it actually hit, may have worked, but now Alpha are going to go ahead and just rip apart this bot lane.
Both flashes still online for J-Team at least, but for Nesty, we'll see. He just wants to slam them together. And is it going to work? Looks like that's going to be a no. Their next target is Lil V. He's quite low already. There's the cleanse being used, and looks like Alpha will be happy with getting 1 kill.
So unfortunately there, Nesty, he saw the only opportunity to try and maybe trade back a kill, and that was maybe to get it onto Catjug. We'll take a look here. He's got to soak up this hook, unfortunately. And the W was intercepted there by this Nautilus. So unfortunately, Lil V could not get that answer kill immediately, and also stepping forward, he ends up having to blow a cleanse. So for Alpha, just more of the same good stuff going in their favor. And for J-Team, you're kind of like, okay, well, we're going to hope that this Kai'Sa can come online in the late game. Hopefully we can find some good engages, as they're also spot out here, and that's the engage.
Wow, he actually flashes in. Let's see where the dragon is going to go. As we can see, that is going to be on the side of J-Team, as a lot of members from Hana, actually Hana is fallen, and that's going to be a little bit of sacrifice for the dragon, and that's a return kill, a couple of return kills for Alpha.
Okay, so this is not going in the page of worth here on the side of J-Team. I'm just saying that right now. They were lucky that Catjug actually smited out one of his camps coming in. It just came off cooldown about a second after the dragon was taken, and unfortunately, Catjug isn't able to secure the dragon as well, but this has been a disaster of an early game so far here for Alpha, where unfortunately for J-Team, it's going to be a bit of an uphill hill to climb, especially in that mid game where these builds are going to come online.
Exactly, and it's for a dragon, 2 kills for a dragon. Unfortunately, J-Team was definitely banking on for them not being spotted, and with that said, that's 2 kills, 2-0-2 already on Catjug's score.
Yeah, and even Nesty, like, the other thing that I really don't like about set support is pretty much all sets go into the Omnistone route, which they only go Omnistone because they want to get the Hex Splash, usually, which, again, you can splash into the creative if you want to try and get that rune. I'm not sold on this, as he's also saw that he doesn't really have a whole lot of impact when it comes to this set here, as he doesn't really have a Keystone. They're going to have... the idea of having this set is you're going to mainly rely on him for the engage later on during the rest of the fights, but especially now that Alpha have been able to flip the script here in Game 2, this is the current position they were hoping to be in when it came to Game 1. They can maintain this and then look for that just nasty power spike that they're going to have, especially with that 2-item spike onto a Corki as well as the lethality build up onto Atlan. They're going to be very dangerous, and J-Team so far have not been able to really show an answer to this.
Yeah, and I think that's, you're right, that is definitely the scary part, considering a lot of the Alpha members are going to be online with their level 6 too. And as you can see, Package already picked up by Assassin here. He is rushing towards there. There's the World Ender being activated by Rock, and it seems to me Driver is still quite advanced towards the lane. Very confident. There's the Package going in, delivery for Driver. And it seems to me they're not able to finish off any kill whatsoever.
But do they actually get to see the back here? Yes, Catchung is actually going to see this, so that means he's got 2 levels again on Hana. Catchung is an absolute fiend when it comes to his jungle farm in the early game. He's able to out-level his opponents very frequently. And now knowing that Hana is actually on the top side of the map still and Driver is having to walk back to base, if Alpha really wanted to, they could have easily turned that into a Rift Herald take. I'm shocked that they didn't. But nonetheless, still a bunch of pressure being exerted here on the side of Alpha as Nesty looking for an engage.
Well, there you go. There's a couple of pokes here and there, so it's going to be a trade for support's chunk of HP. And just as you mentioned, they are now opting for this Rift Herald. I suppose J-Team is completely unaware that this is happening. Rock doesn't have teleport, as we see Driver is going to stick it to his own lane. And with that, Alpha will get a smooth take on this Rift Herald.
Yeah, because actually some decent vision coming out from the side of Alpha. They actually know that Hana's already onto his blue buff, so unfortunately there. That's also an immediately popped Rift Herald, so they want to try and get some gold here onto Assassin, really try and amp up the speed at which this Corki is going to grow, because he's already actually gone into the Maw route, which means he had to spend a little bit of gold delaying his trading force, but with those turret plates being stacked onto him, that's going to help make up a little bit of that difference, and hopefully he's able to still hit that power spike roughly the same time he was aiming for at the start of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Hex Drinker will definitely help out, cancel out the burst coming from Cure, especially if Hana and Cure decide to pull the trigger in mid lane. But just as you mentioned, a couple of vision being invested towards Riverside, so with the Valkyrie as well and Flash still intact for Assassin, it's kind of difficult to try and start something. But with that said, we see Hana moving towards bot side. Unfortunately, this is the perfect timing for Alpha bot lane to go back to base.
You saw there, Atlan's able to just get back. So Hana's down here. They do at least set up for this Ocean Drake that's going to be spawning in about 20 seconds. A bit of a late reset coming out from Catjug and the bot lane of Alpha as a whole. Now you have to consider, though, what's a little bit more useful when it comes to these fights. Do you like having a Varus ultimate and a Nautilus ultimate for these dragon fights compared to, say, a Kaisa ultimate and a Set ultimate? Set can have a really big engage, but as far as like fighting power, you always love having a little bit of extra utility, especially on a Varus, as it's going to be J-Team starting this up. Catjug, though, is aware of this, and they're going to start moving forward.
Oh, Kino's gonna spot out Nesty over here as Assassin making his way already towards the river. Does J-Team decide to invest on this? As that's gonna be a steal from the side of Alpha. And on the other hand, though, a lot of kills. Nesty quite low already. Cannon Barrage being laid down. There's a lot of fights here. As you can see, Assassin will win that duel. Never mind, as Pure will finish off the kill. That's gonna be double kill, but another return kill on the side of Catjug. And at this point, it is going to be a 3-for-2 trade in favor of Alpha.
So you get to see a little bit of what these skirmishes can go in favor of J-Team if they're very spread up and all over the place. But in the end, they still lost more members, and Catjug is still looking for a play here, maybe at least going to try and force a flash out of the Kaisa. He doesn't decide to pull the trigger. But that's such an easy setup play, and Catjug also having the extra level over Hana means that he can easily smite away this dragon. They get a little bit of extra vision as Kino just inches forward, and that's just such an easy take. It isn't even, again, smited there by Hana as they then focus. Lil V, he at least gets into this backline. He's a little bit late, and this shows a little bit of the power that this Akali pick can bring to the composition if he's able to get on top of some of these squishy members. He shredded down the Varus immediately, got a decent chunk here and there against the Corki. that is what Kiorb's job is going to be when it comes to the later part of this game, where Lil V can at least then carry the fights on this Kai'Sa, but we still have to factor in that we don't have a Gangplank. We don't have an Aatrox in any of these fights yet because the teleports were down.
Yeah, and looking at the kills right now, that's a ton for the side of CatDog, and that's 2 early kills at least for Kiorb, but Assassin is setting the lane really, really well. Look at Kiorb, already half HP, as Kino is actually looking for a hook, perhaps, as a lot of summoner spells are actually still intact on the side of J-Team. That will definitely be handy, trying to counter any sort of aggressive play from Alpha.
Yeah, we see here with Lil V, he's actually at least been able to get his mana items, so he's going to start stacking up. But meanwhile, like we mentioned, getting some funneled gold in the mid lane onto this Corki is very crucial for Assassin, that he's been able to pick up now 5 assists as well as the 1 kill early on. With that extra chunk of gold, should be able to finish off his Trinity Force around 15 minutes. Bot lane, though, they're looking for Lil V.
Oh, and as you can see, Flash and Cleanse already being used. That's a beautiful snipe coming from Atlan, and with that said, Alpha cleans up the kill.
Yeah, unfortunately, the thing about Kai'Sa early game, it's not fun to be her anymore, especially when you're alone like this in the side lane, so there's not a whole lot he can do. I gotta commend here, CatDog, though, has a really good knock-up, gets it mid-ultimate on Lil V, and even getting the cleanse there, because Lil V ended up just panicking, so not a whole lot this Kai'Sa could do.
Yep, no escape, and that's gonna be a lot of return, actually, considering you burnt 2 summoner spells, 2 defensive summoner spells away from Lil V. That's gonna be very handy, and it really puts J-Team in a very awkward position, so they can't take fights, so they're gonna be a little bit more defensive. At least though for Kiorb, rather at least for Assassin, already completed his Trinity Force. That's gonna be painful. It's a really nice fight for this Corki.
Yeah, and he's also got the Hex Drinker, like we mentioned earlier, to get a little bit of safety from this Akali, so he's not going to get instantly bursted. And you also saw down there what Lethality Varus can do when he's either ahead or even on gold against a squishy member like a Kai'Sa. He was able to get a massive chunk, about 400 damage off a charge-piercing arrow. That is what they want to do, especially setting up for these team fights later on, where if they're able to just out-poke J-Team while they're trying to siege on any of these fights, it makes it very difficult for them to try and set up around objectives. Rock is going to try and defend this tower, 3v1 in bot lane.
Yeah, that's 3 people down at bot. That's a lot of burst. Nicely done, coming from Nesty at least, and no return kill, as the cannon barrage is going to be laid down at least for the help of Driver, meanwhile, not a lot of damage coming from the snipes of Atlan just yet, but it will do, as Kiorb will be happy about that.
Still, they get some tower damage in mid lane on the second tier tower, and they also force Driver back off, so that's going to allow more gold onto this Corki, as that should be another tower in top lane. We'll take another look here. It's pretty much it's done and dusted as it goes, unfortunately. You do see Nesty gets chunked down, but again, he's set. He gets himself a free shield off that Haymaker, so not a whole lot poor Rock can really do on this Aatrox. It does buy some time, though, and allows Alpha to take the top lane tower, as well as transition into the second Rift Herald.
Yeah, second Rift Herald for Alpha. There is still that bot lane intact for J-Team on their first tower. And for J-Team, though, what is going to be the plan? Because when the laning phase is slowly going to be over, it's going to be difficult for Kiorb to find these kills, and as well as Hana. Therefore, you will be solely reliant on these 5v5 Dragon Dances, which I think for Alpha, they will definitely be happy about that, considering the poke that they have on their own side.
And for Alpha, this period of the game, it's pretty much the go period. Like, you got yourself a decent advantage. You're going in these lethality routes. You got your first items online, 2 Black Cleavers, the Trinity Force as well. This is their time to really try and hammer ahead and get themselves a gold lead so they can look to finish off this game in the mid game. And with that too, they're also able to get themselves their second dragon, so try and delay that away from J-Team, which later on, they would especially love to have that mountain shield against a poke team like this, but it looks like they may not even get a chance to get it.
And for J-Team, they actually wanted to get a sneaky pick off of Assassin, but they decided to back away, considering there's not a lot of advanced vision, and they've actually spotted out Atlan and Kino moving towards bot. And this seems to me a lot of respect, again, because of these picks. They're going to solely rely on driver for the barrels on the wave clear, and they have to put themselves at risk if they do want to clear a few waves, and that's the reason why they have to concede these towers.
So there you go, another tower is going to get taken here by Alpha, and that's, again, more gold just getting pumped in onto this Corki. And on top of that, consider this, look at Assassin's just CS advantage in this mid lane matchup. He's already up 60 CS. Kiorb at this point hasn't been really able to do anything. And you also see CatJug, again, it's go, go, go on the side of Alpha, as they're going to also pop the Rift Herald to try and get the second tier tower in top lane.
And 4 members are slowly creeping towards top side, gonna make sure that this Herald is escorted properly. That's gonna be 1 charge at least consumed for this RH. And Alpha has complete control over the jungle of J-Team. Will CatJug pull the trigger? Will he tunnel in? That's a nicely done cancel on towards the teleport. Rock is gonna start the fight. He's gonna eat a lot of towers as Flash will be used to escape. Barrel being set up already, but the Prey Seeker will seek its prey, and it seems he's gonna concede. Flashing out from battle as CatJug managed to assassinate Driver. And at this point, J-Team unable to get a return kill. Look at that poke damage coming from Atlan with that piercing arrow, and J-Team actually has to go back to base and recuperate.
Yeah, they're actually, I think you're lucky if you're on the side here of Alpha, because CatJug also almost got collapsed on completely there by the side of J-Team. Driver's been, unfortunately, this is the issue when you pick a Gangplank, you're going to get bullied for the majority of the early mid game. Not a whole lot that could have been done, as J-Team, they used a lot here trying to at least get a counter kill, and it almost ended up costing them, because I'm shocked. Okay, Atlan didn't have his Chain of Corruption actually available, or else I feel like if that ultimate was off cooldown, we could have saw more kills going in favor of Alpha.
Yeah, imagine they were all pretty much cooped up in this tight spaced corner on the side of the red buff of J-Team, so that is definitely the perfect place to start a fight. Meanwhile, we see Kino just lingering around as well, being a human ward.
So I'm going to draw a little bit of attention here. This might be a bad omen, but I see a Zeal in CatJug's inventory. And we all know what's going to happen. That's going to get turned into a Phantom Dancer. So he likes to play crit Rek'Sai so that he can just rip apart a squishy member. My issue with this is Rek'Sai likes to at least come in and out of the fights to maybe get a knock-up or two and also soak up a little bit of damage, especially in the later part of the game. So this is now really forcing Alpha to have to close out this game early. If it goes late, there's going to be opportunity for J-Team to scale back into this, and if Lil V's able to avoid CatJug on this, you know, prey-seeking Rek'Sai, that you could say, with crit, it's going to be a bit of issue for the side of Alpha.
Well, good news, at least there's no Tom Kent to ruin CatJug's day. And at least you do have Assassin for that fallback. But yeah, you're right, there's a lot of squishy members on the side of Alpha. Meanwhile, it's hunting time for Kino, as that's going to be the package, going to be used to slow down everybody else. Kiora very low already, managed to dash away from danger. Nessie is going to get exhausted, and at this point, you can tell he wants to start the fight. Unfortunately, CatJug is now gone, but Kino might fall from this battle, but Rock coming from the side. As you can see, CatJug leading the charge, actually, as Assassin gets another kill against Hana. The piercing arrow will not connect, but the teleport is used to at least guard this tower.
And this is one of these fights that J-Team really don't need to try and answer. They honestly didn't have to commit as much as they did. Sure, Nestie gets caught out, boo-hoo, you don't have a set, but at least Hana is able to survive and maybe contest for this Baron that now is easily going to go in the favor of Alpha. And this heavy poke composition is absolute monsters when it comes to the siege as well. So for J-Team, I think you got to cut your losses when you need to, as that's going to end up costing them a lot more. They do at least, you know, consolation prize, you're going to get a Mountain Drake in response, but that's not exactly what you're looking for. And there's a possibility they're not actually able to take this, as you have the CatJug, you also have Atlan, they're also going to roam now and over. There isn't a smite available. Alpha are going to likely steal this away.
We'll have to see, as they're quite far. I thought the Prey Seeker would have ended that, as Assassin is in danger, actually. As the QSS is utilized, JT deciding to retreat instead, as Alpha will not go for the chase.
Yeah, that's one of the rare instances we didn't actually get to see CatJug actually try and go over the wall immediately with a wall. I'm shocked he didn't try and steal that, but nonetheless, cool. J-Team are able to get a Dragon response, but it's still an 8,000 gold lead on the side of our bug splat, as I guess we don't get to see the replay. Nonetheless, overall, it's J-Team that I think they, like, honestly, it all comes down to, you know, trying to equal out fights that they don't have no reason to try and equal out. Take your loss. You understand that your composition is going to be much more powerful the later this game goes. You do not want to fight Alpha where they've already hit some big power spikes. They have a massive gold lead. They're absolute monsters, but they're going to still try and get picks here and there, but they can't take them down fast enough.
They are opting to just focus on Kino. Meanwhile, CatJug in the back line just eliminates the AD carry. Nesty is quite low as well as Cure. He is golden right now, and the arrow will not pierce through Nesty. And unfortunately, carries are gone on the side of J-Team, and right now Alpha is still complete.
I think the decision-making is going to be the nail in the coffin here for J-Team. Again, that's another fight they do not need to take. What do you possibly gain? You get maybe Kino's Baron buff down. Cool, there's still 4 other members on the side of Alpha that have that available, and now you're going to lose out on the inhibitor tower at about 24 minutes, and you're going to have to deal now with the side lane pressure that's going to continue to come out here from Rock, or even Assassin on the Corki, who is also got himself come online. Mid lane's going to be the next target here, and J-Team's base is just in shambles.
Yeah, and that's 11 seconds on the clock, more or less, for J-Team. J-Team's team to respond fully, as CatJug will utilize this Baron buff and push out bot. And in the meantime, Alpha will definitely be happy about this one, just removing the structures away from J-Team surgically. And at this point, yeah, looking at the composition of J-Team, they do have that backline access in the form of Lil V and as well as Cure. They do have that Cannon Barrage, which they can use again in the same manner as game number 1. Problem is, when we look at the regular season, if CatJug goes ahead in the game earlier, they have Lil V to fall back to. Problem is, he doesn't really have the best phase. Farming-wise, though, he's still quite ahead of Atlan, but then again, it's been very tough because you have to deal with CatJug.
You need 2 more items on this Kaisa before she's able to do anything, especially in this composition where if she gets within auto attack range, she is at threat to herself, because that means you're in range of a piercing arrow. You're in range of a rocket. You're within a range of an enhanced auto attack if Assassin goes for possibly a rapid fire cannon on this next item. And we take a look back to this fight. Sure, what do you gain here if you take down Kino? He's able to, again, delay this fight so much. You see Kyorv trying to assassinate Assassin, but you see there, he can't do it. And if your Akali is not able to kill a squishy member on the side of the opposing team, your main job, don't take the fight. Just back off. You are not in a position here on the side of J-Team to try and go for any of these picks because you're so far behind.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not working out too well. You're right. It is the early game that really shined for Alpha. And considering, again, we did mention about the wave clear earlier, which is going to be a huge problem, trying to slow down the bleed, and they have to pull the trigger, as if not, they will be poked out or the structures will fall.
Yeah, now you're going to have another round of sieging. Luckily, there isn't a Baron buff anymore, so they got that going for you. But again, if Lil V, 1 piercing arrow, you just saw it there, cut through 2 members, and he's going down by about 400 health. You might get an engage here and maybe a final stand on the side of J-Team.
There's the Haymaker, but it's not going to be enough to allow you to be tanky. Nesty is actually close to his death. Atlan getting zoned out by the Cannon Barrage, but that is a dredge line. Beautiful dredge line coming from Kino. Very, very well done. And that is 1 member out, and that is the barrels that we are hoping for to wave clear. And that was Lil V charging from the base. Alpha still healthy. Atlan half HP. This could be the potential last stand for J-Team as they are crawling slowly towards the base. Hook will not land though, but at the same time, this is a 4v5.
Yeah, you got Driver coming up in about 20 seconds. Alpha, though, are still pressuring, and there you go.
That is wild. That is a huge amount of damage. And at this point, there's another member down. He's gonna flash knock up Lil V and scare him away. Back to base, even diving towards the fountain. That's gonna be a shutdown as Alpha will try to fight back. They still have their carries alive with Assassin at least, and as well as Rock. And that
They actually
could
hold.
be not the game, as J-Team will continue to fight for their lives the second time in this game with Rock 1v2ing at the moment. There's the charge, there's the World Ender, and at this point J-Team decides to concede. Well, what precise with his cues, and Rock decides to concede and fight another day.
So now here for J-Team, I'm going to be frank, this was Alpha giving them a little bit of hope. Catjug ended up ulting underneath the Fountain Tower onto Lil V. Again, that's just Catjug things. What can you expect here? But this is what we wanted to see from Alpha, especially in our first game. That is what their composition was good at. It's right at this point, and to be honest, unless, you know, Catjug is going to dive underneath Fountain Towers once again, I don't see that happening, and it should be an easy finishes. We'll take another look here. I'll give it to J-Team. They try to make a final hold, but this is even in a 4v4 at the moment, because there's not a whole lot to do. It's actually a 5v4. Catjug was taken mid lane at this point. He didn't even care about the fight. And that it should be enough to say that this game should likely be over on the next push. We'll get to see a little bit more of this. It comes down to, again, Catjug trying to be a little bit too aggressive, but that's going to be a Baron started here on the side of Alpha.
Yeah, Baron number 2, Rock just going to scare out J-Team members, and that's going to be easy secure. And since they just came off from a reset, already bought their items, no ports back will be seen as they charge through the base of J-Team.
And now it comes down to a possible final hold. You got the inhibitors back up in top lane. Mid lane, it's still 2.5 minutes, so you have to somehow tunnel out the siege that's going to come out from Alpha. Engage, though, from the set.
There's the smashdown from Nesty. Look at that damage. Atlan is completely obliterated. Catjug still pretty much alive in this fight. Still as Assassin also healthy, and that is Kjorb down as well.
Oh.
And that's going to be a pause, actually.
Oh, no.
On all this hyped.
Oh, boy. That's...
Oh, dear. Oh, my.
Now, I'm going to state the fact right now. This game should already be over. Alpha at this point are so far ahead that, like, to say the very least, I don't understand. Like, Lil V is already down. You already have, like, you have 2 members down. Like, the game should be done after that pause. So hopefully, we'll see the outcome of the game here quite shortly. But again, this was pretty much a setup game where Alpha have been able to execute on their win composition, win condition with this lethality style build that's going to be coming out of your Vars, as well as this Corki that is very much online. Plenty of damage, plenty of crit chance too. That you're still waiting on this Kaisa to get another item where, again, I will be absolutely shocked if J-Team hold that fight at the end there. They already lost their Gangplank, they already lost their Kaisa, but I'll try and get some more info on exactly what happened there during that fight.
Yeah, it is definitely Alpha's game for sure, considering that everyone was ahead. Rock, especially Assassin. If everyone is ahead, then at that point you will have to rely on Lil V for that 5v5 damage, that backline damage, because Kjorb, when he enters the fight, eventually he's not able to assassinate anyone on the opposite side, considering there's just a ton of CC coming from, Kino. There's a knock-up as well coming from Catjug. And at this point, it's just one of those things where they are unable to succeed in shutting down that early, and Catjug is just godlike at this point. And before the pause, he was still pretty much alive with half HP.
Yeah, I'm just seeing on my end here, it looks like there was some frame stuttering. Something happened over on one of the squads, so that's why the pause was called. So obviously, it's a bit crazy of a time to take a pause there, especially final push that's going to be coming out from the side of Alpha. I don't know which team actually called the pause. I'm going to assume it was J-Team, because obviously if you're losing the fight there and you feel like something's unfair, you're going to try and call a pause here. So hopefully we get a little bit more information, but for right now, that is the current situation. There was a pause due to a spike on one of the players' computers, so that's why they decided to call the pause.
Wild. And I guess for me, I feel a little bit bad for Lil V because with J-Team's, again, new roster, you see Kjorb doing on the Akali this time, and you see Driver on the Gangplank, and with this dynamic falling into this Gangplank, Catjug just likes to feast in vulnerable lanes, and that's the reason why he's just such a monster right now. And we did mention that they always fall back to Lil V if things don't go their way early. But yeah, just as you mentioned, you need that 3 to 4 item power spike, and Alpha is just way ahead as well.
Yeah, Alpha at this point is they require them to again dive 3 members underneath the fountain tower to lose this game. CatJug has done it once, so it's not out of the question. But overall, I think for the side of J-Team, I think you look at this game too and you say, all right, maybe we can't actually contain Alpha when they're on their best. Maybe we got to try and think of a different style composition. Game 1 worked because I really felt like Alpha weren't being proactive enough, and that allowed J-Team the room to stay ahead in the early to mid game, and then just kind of stay ahead from that point forward. There wasn't really an opportunity for Alpha to get back in Game 1. Game 2 here, I think it showed that CatJug, he was able to really abuse the fact that he comes in as the better jungler between this face-off against J-Team. Where Hana, I don't think, has been proactive enough on the map, especially on his Elise. You're an early game champion on the Elise. You just turn into a cocoon bot. And that's another thing you're going to have to think about. This composition will boil down to, if J-Team are able to keep the game somehow alive, is you're pretty much relying on a Gangplank and this Kai'Sa to be your late game carries. You're actually technically fighting a 4v5 just through the fact that Elise turns into a cocoon bot, where if she doesn't land the cocoon, she's pretty much useless. And especially on the squishy members of Alpha, they always have a front line in front of them that it's going to be rather hard for the Elise to even hit that target.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, considering the fact that there is a lacking amount of AoE CC except for the Varus on the side of Alpha. And with that, even for J-Team, they also lack that 5v5 CC power, and they will rely on the single target damage and as well as CC. And at this point, it's kind of hard to eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Who would your prime targets be, considering, again, just as you mentioned, you have to go through these frontliners on the side of Alpha. And the funny thing is, in this fight, it's sort of reminiscent of what happened in the regular season, where J-Team won their first match against Alpha in week 2. And when week 4 came, it was Alpha that completely dominated J-Team in this exact manner as well, with CatJug getting ahead. But the big difference is that a lot of the team members have won their lanes, and at that point, it's just so hard to try and shut them down individually.
Yeah, so again, just getting a little bit more information for you guys at home. It appears it was a spike at the venue itself, so both teams apparently experienced it. Again, I'll get a little bit more info, but again, if I'm J-Team, I think you just take the loss here and you look forward to Game 3. It's not the end of the world that you're going to lose Game 2 here. It's pretty much set in stone. As far as the game goes, this is such a dominating display coming out from Alpha that I think even taking the pause here isn't necessarily the best for your mental. I'd say, just get the game over with, get yourself prepped for the next game. Because you got to remember, during a pause here, you're not actually allowed to communicate with your teammates. Simple as that. That's why you're seeing on the player cams, no one's speaking to each other. This is like the most tilting thing as a player to be in right now, is you can't communicate with your teammates. You're kind of just waiting for the decision to be made from either your team manager or coach. Especially like for some of your new players that don't have as much stage time. I think this is not the place you want to be. I'd say you get the game over with, look forward to Game 3, and then maybe try and do a different draft here when it comes to playing up against Alpha. Because I think Alpha have displayed that they are the better early to mid-game team, and you just weren't able to play the composition right.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. Considering, again, you've got your new players in, Kyorb and Driver at top and mid, and Kyorb has at least played one game, but this is the debut for Driver when it comes to the J-Team roster, and it is their first BO3 Series 2. Unlike the majority of the players that went through the game ones when it came to the regular season. But it seems to me this is going to be Alpha chasing down and scaring away J-Team. They eliminate Hana, and they're attacking the Nexus right now. J-Team trying their best to still deny, but a lot of members still fall in one by one like dominoes, and Alpha ties this series out 1-for-1 in game number 2.
Surprise! If you haven't joined us from the break, it was a dominating victory there for Alpha, so again, congratulations. They're able to tie up the series, and like I said there for J-Team, like even if there was a little bit of a big spike there, you already lost the game when you're 12,000 gold down and you're about to lose 2 of your carries. So I think for Alpha, that was a much needed confidence and morale boost for the rest of the squad to have such a dominating victory, especially here in their second game against J-Team, because they are a team that will heavily swing. They're an emotional team. I'm not going to go too much into detail when it comes to their how their comms go, but they can be easily affected by poor games earlier on in a series. So the fact that they're able to remain composed, take the game heavy-handedly in Game 2 against J-Team was a really good sign, and now it all comes down to that Game 3.
Yeah, and also have the feeling that they're the type of team that likes to warm up. I think they're good at BO3s, still not tested for BO5s, but when we look at the series against Berjaya Dragons, they also lost their first game, but then came back really, really strong at game number 2. And it's all about maintaining that energy as well, especially we're heading on to game number 3, where history could repeat itself for Alpha actually into the series.
Yeah, they're looking for the swing once again, and I think we're going to go ahead and take a look toward one of the early game team fights here. I think it's actually the first steal that came through on the side of Alpha. I think it was just this is pretty much indicative of what the rest of the game was going to be like. It's always Alpha, heavy engage, and Katjung just always being there, able to steal stuff away. Luckily, I was actually Set that was able to steal it somehow, actually, with a punch. So I'll give it to Nest able to at least steal away a dragon.
Yeah, at this point, you can count on Katjung to focus more on eliminating the enemy jungler. Therefore, they were a little bit distracted, and Nesty focused on the dragon itself. And unfortunately, that did not help, as that gave away 2 early kills on the side of Alpha. And again, we did mention that I think 2 kills is really enough for Katjung to be a little bit more confident when it comes to the ganks. And we've seen that game number 2. For game number 1, though, even though Assassin and Gajo got 2 early kills at that dive from J-Team, you can still tell that they sometimes have some sort of hesitation when it comes to the early game, especially when they keep repeating the waiting game under the brush and still not getting any. You can tell that they're getting a little bit impatient, and I feel like perhaps J-Team can try to utilize that sort of weakness against Alpha.
Yeah, well, we're going to go ahead and take a short break, and when we come back, it's going to be the decider match between these two squads. 1-1, loser goes home for the rest of the spring, winner advances on in the playoffs.